Hi, and welcome to English-Fabule. Are you learning English? Great! Let's learn English with a very interesting story. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment. Let's get started.
English habits. Tiny changes. Big results in your language journey. Learning English can feel like climbing a very big mountain. Maybe you want to speak English more easily. Maybe you want to understand English movies without subtitles. Maybe you want to write emails or messages without problems. But sometimes, learning English feels difficult. You might feel like your English is getting better very slowly. You might feel like you try very hard, but you don't see big changes. You might even feel a little bit sad or frustrated. Many learners feel like this. This story is different. This is not about working harder all the time or doing very difficult tasks. This is about making small changes every day. This is about building good habits, like putting pieces of a puzzle together, one after the other. Think of it as creating English habits. A small habit can be like 1 minute of listening or reading or writing. These small English habits might not seem important when you start, but little by little, they can make a big difference. Think of it like a tree. A big tree starts from one very small seed. In the same way, all the amazing things you want to do in English can happen by building small English habits that you repeat every day. You don't need big, dramatic changes. In this story, you will learn how to make these little English habits work for you. You will see how to make them easy and enjoyable. You will find strategies that will make your English better, step by step. And by creating these small, consistent English habits, you will soon become the English speaker you want to be. Let's start this journey together. Chapter 1. The Surprising Power of Atomic English Habits. Have you ever felt like learning English is a huge mountain? It seems like there's so much to do, and it's hard to know where to begin. You see people who speak English easily, and you think, I will never be like that. It can feel difficult to even try. Many students start learning English by trying to study for many hours at a time. They think, I will learn all the English grammar this weekend. Or, I will learn 100 new words in 1 week. They try to do big things very quickly, but this often does not work. They become tired, lose motivation, and give up. What if I told you that it's not about doing big things, but about doing small things every day? These small actions are called atomic habits. They are like tiny pieces that build something big over time. Think of building a house. You can't build the whole house at once. First, you put one brick, and then another, and then another. Slowly, brick by brick, you build a strong house. Learning English is the same. You need to build your skills, one small habit at a time. An atomic habit is a small habit that is very easy to do, and you repeat every day. It can be very simple, like learning 1 new word in English each day, listening to an English podcast for 5 minutes, reading 1 page of an English book, writing a short message in English. One habit may not seem like much, but the power of atomic habits comes from doing them every day. Let's look at how even a small change can make a big difference. Imagine you want to learn a new language. You think it is very hard because there are many new words. It seems impossible. But what if you try to learn only 1 new word per day? That is a very small habit, and it doesn't feel difficult to do. After 1 day, you know 1 new word. It's not a lot, but you still made progress. After 2 days, you know 2 new words. After 3 days, you know 3 new words. At the end of 1 week, you know 7 new words. At the end of 1 month, you know about 30 new words. After a year, you know about 365 new words. You will have a much bigger vocabulary than when you started. This is the power of atomic habits. If you get just 1% better each day, then after 1 year, you'll be much better. But here is something interesting. If you get 1% worse each day, then after 1 year, you'll be much worse. Small changes can have a big effect. Even small progress is important progress. You do not need to do huge things to learn English. Just start with small habits that you can do every day. Think about the small changes that you can do to make your learning journey better. How can you start small? What is the one thing you can do today to start building your own English habits? In the next chapters, you will learn how to do this. You will learn how to choose the right small habits for you. You will learn how to make these habits easy to do and enjoyable. By focusing on consistent small habits, you will make your dream of speaking English well real. Chapter 2. How your English habits shape your identity. Have you ever felt like you were fighting with yourself when you try to study English? Maybe you start very motivated, but after a few days, you stop. This is a very common problem. We often try to change our English learning with the wrong focus. Many students think, I want to speak English perfectly. This is a goal about your results. It's about what you want to achieve. We often think, if I use this grammar book, then I will speak English perfectly. This is a plan about your actions. It's about what you will do. But the best way to become a good English speaker is to start with a different idea. It is about who you want to be. It's about how you see yourself. Imagine you are starting a new hobby. Let's say that you want to learn to play the guitar. If you think, I want to play amazing songs like my favorite singer, you are focused on results. But if you think, I am the kind of person who plays music, you are thinking about your identity. And that's an important difference. Our identity is not fixed. It is something that changes over time. We all have different beliefs. Some people think they are shy and quiet. Other people think they are confident and talkative. But these beliefs change as you act in new ways. When you start to practice English regularly, you are not just studying a new language. You are also proving to yourself that you are an English learner. Every time you have a conversation in English, you are giving a vote for this new identity. You see, your English habits affect how you see yourself, and the way you see yourself will affect your habits. It's a circle that goes both ways. Let's take an example. Imagine two students are given the same English exercise to do. The first student says, I will try to do this, but it is probably very hard for me because I am not good at English. This student thinks that they are a bad English student. What do you think will happen when they face a difficult problem in the exercise? Probably they will give up more easily. The second student says, I am an English learner. I will do my best to finish this exercise. This student believes that they are a person who works hard to learn English. What do you think will happen when this student faces a difficult problem? Probably they will try harder and will not give up easily. The first student sees their English learning as difficult. This bad idea affects how they act. The second student sees their English learning as a challenge that they can face. This new idea affects their actions. Think about the words you use to describe yourself. Do you say, I am trying to learn English? Or do you say, I am an English speaker? Do you say, I should listen to English songs? Or do you say, I listen to English songs because I love the language? These small changes in how you think about yourself can have a big effect on your English learning journey. If you believe you are a lazy person, you will probably continue to have lazy habits. If you think you are a disorganized person, you will probably find it hard to follow a study plan. However, if you start to think of yourself as a focused and dedicated English student, your habits will start to support this new belief. It is a small change in thinking, but this is how big change starts. We all have a desire to act consistently with our self-image. So, instead of trying to simply change your actions, try to change your identity first. Then, your new English habits will come more easily. It's time to think about who you want to become. Do you want to be someone who can read English books easily? Do you want to be someone who is not afraid to have a conversation with an English speaker? Do you want to be someone who enjoys learning English every day? Think about the type of English learner you want to be, and your daily habits will slowly bring you closer to this new identity. Chapter 3. How to build better English habits in 4 simple steps. You know, learning English is like building a house. You don't build a house in one day, do you? No, you need to put one brick on top of another. Learning English is the same. You don't become good at English overnight. You need small, consistent habits. These habits are like the bricks that build your English skills. I have good news for you. There is a simple way to understand how habits work. We can break down habits into 4 simple steps: cue, craving, response, and reward. Let's look at each step. Cue. The first step is the cue. A cue is like a signal. It tells your brain it's time to start a habit. Think about it. What makes you start brushing your teeth? It's probably something like walking into your bathroom or going to bed at night. Those are cues. In English learning, a cue could be your phone alarm rings at 7 a.m. You finish your breakfast. It is the start of your lunch break. You want to relax before bed. These things can become cues for your English habits. They are the triggers that start you doing something. Craving. The second step is the craving. A craving is your desire or motivation to do the habit. It's why you want to do it. Why do you brush your teeth? Maybe it's because you want to have fresh breath. Why do you check your phone? Maybe it's because you want to see what messages you have. In English learning, your craving could be, you want to understand more English songs. You want to speak English more easily. You want to understand what people are saying in an English movie. You want to feel confident using English. Cravings are the feelings that motivate you to act. Response. The third step is the response. The response is the actual thing you do. It's the habit you are trying to build. So, what is the thing you do after you go to your bathroom and before bed? You brush your teeth. What do you do after you crave checking your phone? You grab your phone. In English learning, your response can be, you read a short English article. You practice pronunciation. You watch a short video in English. You learn some new English words using an app. The response is the action itself, which is the actual habit you are doing. Reward. The fourth and final step is the reward. A reward is what you get from doing the habit. It's something good. It's the feeling you get after you brush your teeth, like fresh breath. It's the good feeling you get after seeing the new messages in your phone. In English learning, a reward could be, you understand a new word or phrase. You feel you spoke more fluently. You understood something in the movie. You felt confident and successful. The reward is something that helps you to remember the habit. Let's see an example. Imagine you want to get better at listening to English. Cue. Your phone alarm rings at 8 a.m. Craving. You want to understand more English. Response. You listen to a short English podcast. Reward. You understand some new words and phrases, and you feel happy. The next day, you will likely repeat this action because you want the feeling of understanding again. This is how the 4 steps work together to create an English habit. Another example, perhaps for when you want to learn vocabulary. Cue. You sit at your desk to start work. Craving. You want to learn new English words. Response. You open a vocabulary app and learn 5 new words. Reward. You understand how to pronounce the words and feel accomplished. If you look at your habits, you can see the steps of cue, craving, response, and reward all working together. If you want to build good English habits, it's good to think about these 4 steps. It's about making the habit clear, enjoyable, easy, and satisfying. In the next chapters, we will talk about how to make this work for you. Activities. What are some English habits you have now or you want to have? For each habit, write down the cue. craving, response, and reward. Think about the 4 steps. Is your current habit hard or easy? What can you change to make it easier? Chapter 4. The English Learner Who Didn't Notice. Have you ever driven your car and arrived at your destination without remembering the whole trip? It's like you were on autopilot. Many of our daily actions are like this. We do them without thinking too much. And that's also true for English. You might think you're studying hard, but are you really? Do you use your time well? It's important to know your habits first. Think about it. How do you learn English now? Do you study every day? Or only before a test? Do you listen to English songs? Or only watch television shows in your own language? Are you learning new words? Or do you keep using the same ones? To make your English better, you need to be aware of what you are doing now. Sometimes we have habits, but we don't know they are habits. We just do things without thinking. For example, maybe you always look at your phone first thing in the morning. That's a habit, but you probably do it automatically. In the same way, you may have English habits, good or bad, that you don't notice. How do we become more aware of our habits? Let's use a tool. We will call it the English Habits Scorecard. This is how it works. First, think about your daily routine. Write down the things you do every day. Start with easy things, like I wake up or I eat breakfast. Then think about how you use English. Write that down too. For example, I look at English on my phone. Or, I listen to an English podcast. Here is an example of what your list might look like. I wake up. I look at my phone. I have breakfast. I listen to the radio. I take the bus to work. I check my email. I read news in my native language. I scroll on social media. I eat dinner. I watch television in my native language. I read an English book. I go to bed. Now, you need to mark each habit. Is it a good habit for learning English? Put a plus next to it. Is it a bad habit? Put a minus next to it. Is it a habit that is not important for learning English, or does not help or hurt your learning? Put an equals next to it. Here is how we can mark the habits from our example. I wake up, equals. I look at my phone, equals. I have breakfast, equals. I listen to the radio, minus. I take the bus to work, equals. I check my email, equals. I read news in my native language, minus. I scroll on social media, minus. I eat dinner, equals. I watch television in my native language, minus. I read an English book, plus. I go to bed, equals. You can see, some habits like I read an English book are good for your English, so you mark it with a plus. Some habits like I watch television in my native language are not helpful for your English, so you mark them with a minus. And some habits like I have breakfast are not important for English learning, so you mark them with an equals. Look at your list. Do you see more plus marks or minus marks? Don't worry if you see more minus marks. The important thing is that now you are aware of what you're doing. That is the first step. You don't need to change anything now. You're just looking at your current English habits. You're just finding out what is really happening. You might think that you need to study more, but you might not know how you use your time each day. If you don't know what you are doing, how can you change it? Like a driver who doesn't know the way, you need a map before you can reach your goal. So, take a look at your English Habits Scorecard. Be honest with yourself. What are your good English habits? What are your bad English habits? Being aware is the first step. And it's one you can take today. Exercises. Create your own English Habits Scorecard. Write down your routine and mark each habit with plus, minus, or equals. Think about 2 habits you do every day that are not helping you improve your English. Think about 1 good habit that you are already doing for English learning. Chapter 5. The best way to start a new English habit. Have you ever said to yourself, I want to speak English better, but then you don't know where to start? Or maybe you start to learn English, but then it's difficult to continue? It's a common problem. Many people have good ideas, but they don't have a plan. They just say, I want to study more English, but they never decide when and where this will happen. It is like they are waiting for motivation to appear. But motivation doesn't always come. This chapter will teach you a better way to start a new English habit. It's called making a plan with specific details. You need to decide when and where you will do your new English habit. It's like making an appointment with yourself. When you have an appointment with a friend, you know the time and the place. You also need to do this with your English habits. Think about it this way. When you have a good idea, you need a plan to make it real. If you want to start a new English habit, you need to make it clear what you want to do and when you want to do it. This helps you follow through more easily. If you just think, I will learn English, you are more likely to forget it. But if you plan, I will learn 5 new English words at 7 p.m. at my desk, this will help you make it happen. Here are some ways to make a good plan for your new English habit. First, you can use this simple sentence. I will English habit at time in location. Let's look at some examples to help you understand better. Listening. I will listen to an English-Fabule story at 7:30 a.m. in the kitchen. Reading. I will read 1 page of an English book at 9 p.m. in my bed. Speaking. I will talk to my language partner in English at 10 a.m. in the library. Writing. I will write 3 English sentences at 5 p.m. in my study. Vocabulary. I will learn 5 new English words at 11 a.m. in the coffee shop. As you can see, it's simple to complete this sentence. Now, try it yourself. Think about an English habit that you want to start and complete this sentence. Write it down. This small step makes your habit more real. Second, you can try habit stacking. This means that you connect a new habit to an old habit that you already have. For example, after current habit, I will new English habit. Let's look at some examples to help you understand better. Listening. After I finish eating my breakfast, I will listen to an English podcast. Reading. After I drink my coffee, I will read 1 page of an English book. Speaking. After I brush my teeth, I will talk to myself in English. Writing. After I finish lunch, I will write 3 English sentences. Vocabulary. After I get home from school, I will learn 5 new English words. Think about your daily routine. What do you do every day? Is there something you can connect to a new English habit? Try it. When you make these plans, it is like having a roadmap for your English journey. You don't have to think so much about when and where to practice. You just do it. When is a good time to start a new English habit? Many people find that starting on the first day of the week, the first day of the month, or the first day of the year is a good idea. It makes them feel hopeful. It's like having a fresh start. To do this, you can ask yourself, what time of day will I practice English? Where will I do this practice? Which of my habits can I use to connect my new habit? If you think you don't have enough motivation, then this method will help you. You don't need to be excited to start. You just need to make a clear plan. This helps you say no to other things that may stop you from reaching your goals. You are clear about what you need to do. This stops you from making little excuses and letting little things get in your way. Your English habits need a time and a place to exist in your life. When you do this, it is much easier to make progress. Try it. Start planning. Chapter 6. Motivation is overrated. Environment often matters more in English learning. Do you think that you need to be very motivated to study English? Many students believe this. They think that they need to feel excited to pick up a textbook or to do their homework. But sometimes motivation is not enough. Sometimes it is easier to change your environment than to change your feeling. It is like this. If you always have a book near your bed, you are more likely to read before you sleep. If you always have chocolate in your bag, you are more likely to eat it. So, how can we use our environment to help us learn English? Let's think about some examples. First, think about your house. Where do you study English? If you study in your bedroom, can you see your bed? Maybe you feel like sleeping instead of studying. If you study in the kitchen, can you see food? Maybe you will think about eating instead of your English lessons. It is better if you have a special place to study English. It does not need to be a big room. It can be a corner in your home where you only study. In this corner, you put all your English things, your books, your notebook, your dictionary, and a good pen. This way, when you go to this special place, your brain knows it is time for English. This is using your environment to help you. Second, think about your computer and phone. Are these helpful, or are they a problem for your English studies? If you always use your phone to chat with friends in your first language, then you will probably not think about English. But if your phone is in English, every time you pick it up, you will see English words and English sentences. Maybe you will find a new app that can help you practice English. It is good to use your phone to help you, not to distract you. Third, think about what you look at during the day. Is everything in your first language? Maybe you can put English notes on the fridge. You can make a list of your English vocabulary words and put it on your desk. If you can see English words and sentences every day, your brain will start to think about them more often. You make English visible. Changing your environment can change your habits. It is like helping yourself to study English without trying too hard. Think of it this way. If you change your clothes to go to the gym, you are more likely to go to the gym. If you put on a swimming suit and go to the beach, you are more likely to swim. It is the same with English. If your environment is for learning English, then your brain will say, "Okay, it is time to learn English." This can help you study even if you do not have much motivation. Here are some things you can do to change your environment. Find a special place to study English, a corner in your house, a table at a library. Put your English books in visible places. Do not hide them in a box. Change the language on your phone to English. Put English notes where you can see them. Find an online language partner. It is easy to study more when there is another person waiting for you. Try to meet with your English-speaking friends. Listen to English podcasts. Change the language settings on your television or online media. Remember, you don't need a lot of motivation if you build your environment to support your habits. If you create the right environment, you can learn English even if you don't have the motivation to read all the time. Changing your space makes the path to the English language clear, even if you have to force yourself there at first. You don't need motivation so much. You need an environment that says, "It is time to study English all around you." Chapter 7. The Secret to Self-Control in English Learning. Learning English can be difficult. Sometimes, we want to improve our English. We don't do the things that we know will help us. We might say, "I want to learn new words," but then we don't practice them. We might say, "I want to speak English more," but then we feel nervous and don't try. It's like we want to do something good, but something stops us. This is what we call a problem with self-control. Many people think that self-control is about being strong and using a lot of energy. They think you need to fight your bad habits. But that's not always the best way to do it. The people who are good at English learning are not always the strongest people. They are just good at making their lives in a way that helps them learn easily. It's like they don't need to fight because they are in a place where it is easier to learn English. Imagine you are trying to learn new words. If you have a book with all the words in a drawer where you don't see it, it will be difficult to remember to learn them. But if you have the book on your table, It's easier to pick it up and study. It's not that you have more energy, it's that you are in a better place to learn. The best English learners create a life that supports their English habits. They don't need to use a lot of power to do the right thing. It's like the phrase we talked about earlier, make it easy. For example, maybe you want to stop watching videos in your own language and watch them in English. Instead of trying to stop yourself with power, you can make it more difficult to watch videos in your own language. Perhaps you can delete all the apps for watching videos in your own language. When you want to watch something, you would need to go to the App Store and download the app first. That is difficult. And it gives you a chance to think, do I really need to watch this right now? It makes it harder to watch videos in your own language and gives your brain a little time to remember your goal to watch videos in English. After you make your bad habits more difficult, you can also make your good English habits easier. You can put your English books by your bed. You can set an alarm that reminds you to practice English every day. You can make a small change that helps you start learning with less effort. Maybe you want to listen to an English audiobook story on YouTube, but you always forget. Try putting the podcast on your phone, and then put the phone next to your headphones before you go to sleep. When you wake up, it will be easy to put on your headphones and listen to the podcast. Sometimes you might think that you have a bad habit because you are lazy or you are not good enough. But that's often not true. Usually, you have a bad habit because you are in an environment that doesn't help you. It's like a plant. If you put a plant in a dark place, it will not grow well, but it is not the plant's fault. You need to put it in a place where it can grow. When you want to change your English habits, don't just try to fight your bad habits. Instead, try to change the things around you. When you make your good English habits easier and your bad English habits harder, you will start to feel like it is easier to learn English. And the more you feel this way, the more you will stay on your path. The secret to self-control is not to be very strong. It's to make it easy to be good at English. Make the good things obvious and easy, and the bad things difficult and hard. Then it will be easier to practice your English, learn new words, and speak English more often. Chapter 8. How to make an English habit irresistible. Imagine you love watching funny videos online. You watch them every day. Why? Because they make you feel good. They make you laugh. Your brain likes this feeling. In fact, your brain always likes things that make you feel good. Scientists have a special word for it: dopamine. Dopamine is a chemical in your brain that makes you want things. It is like a little voice that says, "Do that again. It felt nice." When you are learning English, your brain also needs to have this good feeling. If your English habit feels difficult, your brain will say, "This is not fun. Let's do something else." But if your English habit feels good, your brain will say, "Do this again. This is great." How can we make English habits more like watching funny videos and less like doing boring homework? One good way is to connect your English habit with something you already enjoy. Think of something you love to do. Maybe you love listening to music, watching movies, or playing video games. How can you connect that to learning English? For example, let's say you love listening to music. You can try this. Before you listen to music, something you love, you will learn 5 new English words, something you want to do. This is called temptation bundling. It's like putting a tasty cookie next to a healthy carrot. You love the cookie, but now the carrot looks better too. When you link a habit you want to do with a habit you love to do, it makes your English habit more attractive. Here are a few more examples. Before watching your favorite television show, read 1 chapter in your English book. Before playing a video game, practice English pronunciation for 5 minutes. After you finish a delicious snack, listen to my YouTube channel. The key here is to choose something that you want to do. Maybe you think, I want to improve my English, so I need to study grammar. But your brain thinks, Studying grammar is boring. You need to trick your brain by connecting the boring grammar with something fun. It's not just about making things fun, though. It's also about making the idea of your English habit exciting. For example, maybe you want to improve your English vocabulary. Instead of thinking, I need to study vocabulary, think, I want to learn new words to understand more English songs. Or maybe you want to speak English more. Instead of thinking, I need to have English conversations, think, I want to practice English to make new friends. When you make your English habits attractive, your brain gets a little bit of dopamine. This dopamine will make you excited to practice English. This little good feeling can help you stick with your English habit. And after a while, your brain will begin to connect this good feeling to learning English. Then, learning English itself will become more enjoyable for you. You are not just changing your habits, you are also changing how you feel about them. You are learning to make English learning something you want to do, not something you have to do. You are making English habits irresistible. Chapter 9. The role of family and friends in shaping your English habits. Think about your family and friends. Do they like learning English? Maybe they speak English well, or they don't speak it at all. The people around us have a big effect on our habits. It's natural. We want to feel like we belong. We want to be part of the group. If you grow up in a family that loves to read, you might like reading too. If you have friends who exercise every day, you might want to exercise too. It's the same with English. If your friends and family think learning English is important, it's more likely you will too. Imagine you live in a town where everyone speaks English perfectly. You would probably want to speak English well too. But if everyone in your life says English is too difficult or not important, it might be harder for you to learn. That's why it's important to find the right people to be around. This doesn't mean you have to leave your family or change all your friends. It means you need to find a way to connect with people who can help you with your English. Let's look at 3 groups of people who can influence your English habits: the close, the many, and the powerful. The close. The people closest to you, like your family and best friends, have a big influence on you. If you have a friend who is learning English, that can help you. You can practice together. You can help each other. If someone in your family is also learning English, ask them if they can practice with you. Maybe you could watch a short English cartoon together, or try to have a conversation in English when you are having dinner together. You can also find a language exchange partner. A language exchange partner is someone who speaks English as their first language, and they are learning your language. You can practice speaking with them, and you can help them practice your language. The many. The people around you in a larger community, like your class or your online group, are also important. If you are in a class where everyone is excited about English, it will make you more excited to learn. If you join an online group where people post videos of themselves speaking English, you might want to do it too. When other people are doing something, it feels normal. If other people want to learn English, it can help you to want to learn it as well. The powerful. The people who you look up to or respect, like teachers, artists, or successful people, can also influence your habits. For example, if you have an English teacher who is very good at the language, you might want to learn English like they do. If a famous singer speaks English well, you might want to learn English so that you can understand their music without needing subtitles. If someone you want to be like values learning English, you might think it's a good habit too. So, how can you use this? First, try to find other people who share your goal of learning English. Maybe you can join a group or find a partner. Second, look at the people who are already in your life. Can you ask them to practice with you? Can you learn something from them? Remember, you don't have to do this alone. Learning English is easier when you have people who support you. Your habits are made stronger when you share them with others. Find your tribe and you will get where you want to be faster. Choose your people wisely, and your English habits will become stronger and more enjoyable. Exercises. Think about your close contacts. Who in your family or friend group could be a good English learning partner? How could you practice with them? Think about your communities. Are you part of any groups, online or offline, where people practice English? If not, how could you find a group to join? Think about people you look up to. Are there any people you admire who are good at English? How can they motivate you? Chapter 10. How to find and fix the causes of your bad English habits. Imagine you are learning to play a new instrument. Maybe you want to play the guitar, but when you practice, you always start playing the same easy song. You try to learn a new song, but it's hard. You keep going back to the easy one. Why? You are doing it because you enjoy playing that easy song. It makes you feel good. It is a comfortable habit, but it isn't helping you improve. Learning English is the same. We often do things because they feel good now, even if they don't help us in the long run. Maybe you like watching movies in your native language. It feels good to relax and understand everything. But maybe it isn't helping you practice your English. Perhaps you always talk in your native language with your friends. It is easy and comfortable, but you don't practice speaking English. These are bad English habits. But why do we do them? The answer is that every habit has a reason. It has a feeling that makes you do it. You want to understand English songs, but the feeling you want is to relax. You want to speak English fluently, but the feeling you have is comfortable with your friends. Now, think about what you do when you want to start a new habit. For example, you know that you want to learn new words in English. You buy a notebook and a new pen. You make a plan to learn 10 words every day. It sounds good, but after a few days it becomes hard. You start thinking, maybe I don't need to learn 10 words today. Maybe just 5 words. You start to skip days, and then you stop completely. What went wrong? Maybe you only focused on the goal, to learn new words. You didn't think about the feeling you wanted. Maybe you didn't really want to learn new words every day. Maybe the feeling you really wanted was to feel smart, to feel better at English, or to feel like you are improving. The problem is that just focusing on the goal isn't enough. We need to understand the feeling we want. We need to understand why we do what we do. Let's look at 2 ways you can work with your feelings. 1. Reframing your thoughts about bad habits. Imagine you always feel like you need to watch television in your native language after work. It's a hard habit. You have watched television every evening for many years. You start to feel guilty about not studying English. You tell yourself you should stop. But you can change your feelings with your thoughts. First, you can ask yourself, why do I watch television? Maybe you answer, because I'm tired. But now, you can change your thinking. You can think, I'm tired, but I also want to improve my English. I can relax and also study English. Maybe I can watch a television show in English or listen to an English podcast. You change your bad habit into an opportunity for growth. You change the feeling you associate with studying English from something difficult and boring to something good and helpful. Another example. I always speak in my native language with my friends. Maybe you answer, because it's easier and faster. Now you can change your thought. It's easy and fast, but also I want to practice my English. Maybe we can practice our English together. We can learn new things together and help each other. Now, the feeling of speaking English with friends isn't a bad thing, but a good thing. By changing your thinking, you change your feelings. You change what you crave. You can make old, bad habits less attractive by making them feel less helpful or desirable. 2. Using your feelings to make good habits more attractive. Remember, feelings make you act. If you only focus on goals, you can easily forget what's important to you. For example, you might think, I need to study English grammar, but you do not want to. The word need feels bad. It feels like a chore. So try to think, I get to study English grammar because it will help me understand English better. The word get feels more positive. You can also think, I want to learn English grammar because I want to read better books. You connect your habit to your goals and your desires. Another example, I need to study vocabulary. Instead, think, I get to study vocabulary and expand my world with new words. Then you could think, I want to learn new words because I want to watch an English film and understand everything. It's like this. You don't just want to eat healthy foods because you need them. You want to eat healthy food because it will give you more energy and make you feel better. So, when you feel good, you are more likely to eat healthy food again. When your feelings become a part of the habit, it becomes a good circle that helps you improve. By learning how to work with your feelings and thinking, you can make bad English habits feel less powerful, and good English habits feel more enjoyable. This will make it easier to stick with your new habits in the long term. The point isn't to change how you are, but to change what you do. You learn to do things that feel good and are also good for you. Understand the feelings behind your habits. Why do you do it? What feelings are you looking for? Reframe negative thoughts. Change how you think about bad habits so they seem less attractive. Connect to your desires. Make good habits feel more desirable by linking them to your long-term goals and your why. By understanding how your feelings guide your habits, you can create better English habits and enjoy your learning journey more. Chapter 11. Walk slowly, but never backward in your English journey. Imagine you want to learn to play the guitar. You see many videos of amazing guitar players. They are fast and perfect. You think, I want to play like that, but you don't know where to start. Some people spend a lot of time reading books about guitar, watching videos, and buying new equipment. They want to find the best way to start. They think, I need to know the best way before I begin. But what happens? They don't actually play the guitar. They learn a lot about playing the guitar, but never get to practicing it. This is a problem I see with many people who are learning English. They spend a lot of time planning, researching, and buying new books. They spend a lot of time in motion, but they do not take action. There is a difference. Motion is when you prepare to do something. Action is when you actually do it. Motion. You read about English tenses. You buy a new English dictionary. You watch videos about speaking English. Action. You try speaking English with a friend. You read a book in English. You practice using different tenses and sentences. Both motion and action are good, but you need action to see results. It's like wanting to be a good swimmer. Reading about swimming techniques is helpful, but it won't make you a better swimmer. You have to get into the water and practice, even if you are not a perfect swimmer yet. Sometimes people do not take action because they are afraid. They are afraid to make mistakes. They do not want to fail. They think, if I do not do it perfectly, I will look bad. So they spend more time planning and less time doing. The fear of failing makes us stop trying. The most important thing is to start. Do not worry about being perfect. You can improve later. In fact, you will improve if you keep practicing. But you have to practice. When you start learning a new English habit, the key is to focus on repetition, not perfection. You do not need to find the perfect way to practice English. You just need to practice. This means that you need to start by making it easy. As we learned in previous chapters, it's important to make good habits obvious and attractive, but it's also necessary to make it easy to start. For example, you might think you want to write a book in English, but writing an entire book is a big project. Instead of thinking about writing a whole book, you can start with one small step. You can decide, I will write one sentence in English every day. You can start with just 2 minutes of study. You might also think that you need to practice speaking English with a native speaker for 1 hour each day. But maybe it is hard to find a native speaker. Instead of 1 hour, you can start by saying hello to a stranger in English. Start with what is easy. Your English journey is not about becoming perfect overnight. It is about making small changes every day. You do not need a perfect plan. You just need to start. You do not need to run a marathon today. You just need to put on your running shoes and walk for 5 minutes. That is the first step. Think of your English habits like learning to play a musical instrument. You don't start with the most difficult songs. You begin with the simple scales. You practice them again and again. It might seem boring sometimes, but with time, the skills you develop will allow you to play more complicated and fun things. The key is to keep going forward, slowly but surely. So remember, walk slowly but never backward. It is okay if you make mistakes. That's how you learn. The most important thing is to keep practicing every day. You just need to get your reps in. Chapter 12. The Law of Least Effort. Make your English learning easy. Remember, we've talked about making your English habits clear and enjoyable. Now, it's time to talk about making them easy. This is the third law of habit change. Make it easy. Think of your body like a river. Water always flows the easiest way. If there's a big rock in the middle of the river, the water will go around it. It won't try to go through the rock. We are like that river. We usually choose the path that takes the least energy. This is normal for all humans. When you are trying to learn English, you need to make it easy to do the right thing. It's easy to watch a movie in your own language, but it's harder to watch one in English. You need to make the English movie easier to watch. If it is very difficult to study English, you will not do it. But if it is very easy, you will do it every day without thinking. For example, let's say you want to learn new vocabulary. If you have a big, heavy dictionary that you never use, it's not easy. It takes too much effort to find the words. It is better to use an app on your phone. The app is always with you, and it makes it very easy to find the words and learn them. It is important to understand that habits are hard when they feel like a big climb, but it is easy to do small actions regularly. So, how can we make English learning easier? Here are some simple things you can do. Reduce the number of steps. Imagine you want to practice speaking English. If you have to find a partner, plan a time, and then find a place to meet, it's too many steps. It's better to join an online conversation group that you can join with just one click. Make it easy for you to start. Prepare your environment. Put your English books next to your bed so you see them when you wake up. Make sure your English learning materials are always near you. If your English vocabulary list is on your phone and always with you, you can read a new word whenever you have some free time. Make small, easy choices every day. If your goal is to read an English book, don't plan to read 100 pages every day. Start small. Plan to read just 1 page. 1 page is easy, and you can always read more if you want. If you want to listen to an English podcast, start with a 5-minute podcast. It is easier to do a small thing than a very big thing. Make it part of your routine. You already have a daily routine, like brushing your teeth, making breakfast, or checking your email. You can add a new English habit to an old habit. For example, after I check my email, I will listen to a short English podcast. This makes it easier because you don't have to think about when to do it. It's already part of something you do every day. Use technology. There are many apps for learning English. You can use apps for vocabulary, pronunciation, grammar, or listening. They can make learning more convenient and automatic. If you have a good English learning app on your phone, it is always with you when you are at home, when you're on the bus, or waiting at the supermarket. It is important to remember that a small step is always easier to take than a big one. If you want to climb a mountain, don't try to jump to the top. You need to take small steps and walk slowly. The same is true for English learning. Make it easy, and you will keep going. Chapter 13. How to stop procrastinating on your English goals by using the 2-minute rule. We've talked about making English habits easy, and now let's talk about another important thing. Starting. Sometimes we want to do big things, like learn a lot of vocabulary or write a long essay in English. It feels very difficult, and we wait for the perfect moment. But this perfect moment never comes. Maybe you feel like you want to watch television instead of studying, or like your brain is too tired to practice today. This is called procrastination. When you put off doing what you should be doing. It's easy to start a new habit with a lot of excitement, but after some time, you might feel like you have to do so much at once. You think you need to study for 2 hours or read a whole book, and you start to feel tired just thinking about it. That's why many people don't finish what they want to do. It feels too big, and you don't start at all. So, how can we stop this? How can we get ourselves to start, even when we don't feel like it? Here's a simple idea that can make a big difference. The 2-minute rule. The 2-minute rule says, when you start a new English habit, it should take less than 2 minutes to do. This means you need to make the first step of a new habit very, very easy. It's like a very small door that helps you enter a big room. You want to open the door even when you don't have a lot of energy. For example, if you want to read in English every day, then make it read 1 page at first. If you want to practice English pronunciation, then make it repeat 1 English sentence. If you want to study English vocabulary, then make it learn 2 new words. If you want to write in English, then make it write 1 sentence. If you want to listen to English, then make it listen to a short song. Why is this helpful? Because it's easy to start things that take less than 2 minutes. You can find 2 minutes in your day, even if you are very busy. And when you start, it's easier to keep going. Imagine you want to start running. You think you need to run 5 kilometers every day, and that makes you feel tired even before you start. But with the 2-minute rule, you can start by just putting on your running shoes. That's it. Then you can walk outside and maybe you will run, maybe you will walk, but you already did the first easy step. The 2-minute rule is not about making the entire habit easy, just the very beginning. You can still do difficult things later. The important thing is to get started. It's like a small airplane taking off. At the beginning, it goes very slowly. But after it is up in the air, it can fly very fast. It is also important to understand that this first step is a gateway habit, or a habit that opens the door to other habits. For example, if you put on your running shoes gateway habit, then you are more likely to go for a run. If you read 1-page gateway habit, then you are more likely to keep reading the chapter. If you open your English textbook gateway habit, then you are more likely to do an exercise. If you listen to a short song gateway habit, then you are more likely to look up the lyrics and study them. The 2-minute step makes it easier to say yes to your English learning goals because it feels so simple. It is easier to choose the good habit when you have to put in just a little bit of effort. It is easier to be consistent when it feels easy to start. The 2-minute rule can seem like a trick, but it's actually very useful. It is a way to practice showing up even when you do not feel like it. It helps you make your habits easier to start, and that makes it more likely you will continue. So, remember, make the beginning easy, and the rest will follow. Exercises. Think about a big English learning goal. Write down 1 thing you would like to achieve with your English, e.g., read a book, write an essay, have a conversation. Break it down using the 2-minute rule. What is a very simple action you can do to start that goal? Make it something that takes less than 2 minutes. Write it down. For example, my big goal is to read a book in English. My 2-minute habit is to read 1 page. Practice the habit. Try your new 2-minute habit tomorrow and see how it feels. Did it help you get started with your English learning? Reflect. Do you think using this rule can help you start your English habits in a consistent way? Why or why not? Chapter 14. How to make good English habits inevitable and bad English habits impossible. In the last few chapters, we talked a lot about making good habits easy. But sometimes it is also helpful to make bad habits difficult. We can use a clever idea from a writer named Victor Hugo to help us do this. Many years ago, Victor Hugo had a very important book to write, but he kept doing other things instead of writing. He was having trouble with procrastination. So he did something strange. He took all of his clothes and locked them away in a box. He only had one old shawl to wear. Because he did not have any nice clothes to go outside, he's home and wrote his book. Victor Hugo made it difficult to do anything except write. He used a plan that we can use too. It's called a commitment device. A commitment device is a choice that you make now to control what you do in the future. It helps you make good habits easy and bad habits hard. There are many ways to create a commitment device for your English learning. Here are a few simple ideas. If you want to stop checking your phone during study time, put your phone in another room, or give your phone to a friend to hold while you study. If you want to stop skipping English classes, sign up for classes and pay for them ahead of time. It's harder to stop going when you have already spent money. If you want to study for your English exam more, tell your family that you are studying for 1 hour each day. When you tell them, they may ask you about it, and this can help you keep going. If you want to stop reading in your native language before bed, put your English book or e-reader on your bed. Now, it's easier to start reading in English than in your native language. These are just a few ideas. The main goal is to make it harder to do the things that are bad for your English and make it easier to do things that will help you. Think about your bad habits that are stopping you from learning English. Now, think about how you can make them more difficult. It's also important to try to make your good habits so easy that they become automatic. For example, imagine you want to practice speaking English every day. You could join an online English conversation group. Or, you could make it a rule to talk to your family in English for 10 minutes each day. These are ways to make it easier to do your good habits every day, and eventually, they can become automatic. When your good habits become automatic, then you don't even have to think about them anymore. You just do them. For example, when you want to practice English in the morning, you can get your favorite English book and sit in your favorite chair. This makes it easy for you to start reading every day. I'm fascinated by the idea that one small choice can help us in the future. That's like the cash register in the olden days. It was a one-time choice that made it difficult for shop employees to steal. This helped the owner each day without needing to think about it. So, we can make changes in our lives, and it will help us each day without more thinking. These one-time choices can help you more than you know. If you try only half of the ideas on the table below, you will see how easy it will be to grow your English in a year. One-time actions that lock in good English habits. Get an English-speaking friend. Change the language on your phone to English. Download English learning apps to your phone. Buy a set of English books you are eager to read. Subscribe to an English podcast you enjoy. Unsubscribe from emails that are not in English. Create a learning space in your home. Always buy tickets to a class so you have to attend. Remember, the best way to improve your English is to make good habits easy and bad habits difficult. Think about your daily life. Find the things that are slowing down your learning and find ways to make them more difficult. Then, find ways to make good habits easier to start, and eventually, they will become a part of your normal day. This is how you can make your English learning journey a success. Chapter 15. How to stick with good English habits every day. We all know that making a new habit is hard. It's like starting a car. Sometimes it starts easily, and sometimes it doesn't. But what happens after you finally get going? How do you keep going every day? It's easy to feel excited when you start a new English habit. Maybe you want to learn a new grammar rule or practice speaking every day. But some days, you might feel tired or you might not feel like it. How can we make sure we keep going, even when we don't feel like it? Think about what happens when you practice sports. You do not always feel amazing when you go to your soccer training. There are days you feel tired, but you still go. You are working towards getting better, and you know that you can't skip. So how do we make our English learning feel this way? The answer is to use a habit tracker. A habit tracker is a very simple way to measure if you did your English habit. Imagine you want to practice speaking English every day. You can take a calendar and put a big X on every day that you speak English. At the end of the week, you will see a list of X's in your calendar. This is a visual record of your English habits. People have used trackers for a long time. Many years ago, a very famous man named Benjamin Franklin used a small notebook. In this notebook, he wrote down things he wanted to be better at. Every day, he looked at his notes and saw if he had worked towards his goals. This helped him to improve his life. A writer named Jerry Seinfeld uses a habit tracker to write jokes every day. He says that his goal is to never break the chain of writing. He does not worry about writing a perfect joke every day, but he does make sure that he writes something. Just seeing the chain of progress on his tracker helps him to keep going. A habit tracker has 3 important benefits that make it easier to keep your English habits. It makes the habit obvious. Seeing the X's on your calendar reminds you to continue. You want to keep the chain going. It's a visual cue. If you look at the calendar and see a gap, you'll want to do something about it and not see any gaps. It's like a little reminder. When you see that you haven't practiced speaking for the last few days, you'll be more likely to start again. It makes the habit attractive. Seeing the progress you have made is like a small reward. When you track your progress, you can see that you are getting better. This feeling helps you want to continue. When you feel that you are improving, it gives you more motivation to keep going. It feels good to see your progress. It makes the habit satisfying. It feels good to mark an X on the calendar. You did it. You completed your habit. It's a small win, but these wins help you stay on track. When you see those X's in the calendar, you feel like you've done something. It is very important to keep your eye on the process and not just the results. For example, if you are practicing your vocabulary, do not just focus on if you know all the words you're learning or not. Focus on the fact that you studied and practiced. Focus on not breaking the chain. Your goal is to make that habit a part of who you are, and not necessarily have a specific outcome right away. These things are important, but you need to know when to use a habit tracker. If you are just starting with a new habit, a tracker can help. But if you are really bored with a habit, a tracker might not help. The important thing is to make the habit enjoyable and make yourself feel good. One more thing. You need to know when to stop tracking. It is not possible to track everything you do in life. The purpose of using a tracker is to make your habits easier. But you shouldn't track too many things at once. That could be overwhelming. Do not try to track everything. Just track the most important habits. Here is another important thing. Never miss twice. If you miss one day, it's like an accident. It's not a big deal. But if you miss 2 days, it can become a new habit of not doing it. So, if you miss one day of practicing English, try to get back on track as soon as possible. Do not let one mistake become 2 mistakes. With all these ideas we've discussed, it's time to go out there and build amazing habits. You can start small and then improve. You need to create a habit, and that's the most important thing. Chapter 16. How a partner can change your English learning. Imagine you are trying to learn a new skill, like playing a musical instrument. You know it's a good idea to practice every day, but sometimes it's hard to do it alone. It's easy to say, "I'll do it tomorrow," or I'm too tired today. You need someone to help you stay on track. This is where an accountability partner can help. An accountability partner is like a friend who is working with you to achieve your goals. They are someone you are responsible to, someone who will check up on you and make sure you are doing your work. Think of it like this. If you know someone is watching you, you are more likely to do the right thing. It's like having a teacher who checks your homework or a coach who asks you about your training. Having an accountability partner can make a big difference in your English learning journey. It helps you stick to your goals, even when you don't feel like it. Here's how it works. It makes your commitment clear. When you tell someone else that you will do something, it makes it more real. It's not just a thought in your head. It's a promise you've made out loud. For example, if you tell your partner you are going to study English for 30 minutes every day, you are more likely to do it than if you just think about doing it. You don't want to let them down. It gives you support. If you are having a hard time, your partner can encourage you. They can say, "You can do it," or "Let's study together." They can help you find resources and remind you of why you started. Learning a language can be hard, but it's easier when you are not alone. It provides a sense of responsibility. When you have an accountability partner, you know someone is relying on you. You don't want to disappoint them, so you are more likely to do the work. If you are supposed to have a conversation in English with your partner every week, you'll be more likely to prepare for it. It creates an immediate cost for not following through. When you don't do what you said you would do, you feel bad and your partner may be disappointed. This adds a little bit of pain to not following your English habits, which makes you more likely to stick with them in the future. Here are some ways you can use an accountability partner for your English learning. Practice conversations. You can agree to have short English conversations with your partner at certain times. For example, you could speak for 15 minutes each Tuesday and Friday. Your partner can tell you if you made mistakes and help you practice new vocabulary. Study together. If you are both learning English, you can study together. You can read English texts, do grammar exercises, or watch English videos. You can quiz each other and keep each other motivated. Track your habits together. You can share your habit tracker with your partner and check in with each other regularly. If you have a plan to learn 5 new English words each day, your partner can check to see if you are following through. Share your goals. You can tell your partner about your specific goals and the reasons why you want to improve your English. This way, they know your dreams, and they know what to encourage. Make it fun. You can do something enjoyable while you are practicing English. For example, you could watch an English movie together or play a game in English. This way, you will want to do it more often. It's important to remember that your accountability partner is not a teacher. They are not there to correct all of your mistakes or give you a grade. They are there to support you and help you stick to your habits. Choose a partner who is kind, encouraging, and also committed to their own goals. You want a friend who is a support, not a boss. In short, having an accountability partner can be a powerful way to make your English learning journey more enjoyable and successful. It helps you stay on track, provides support, and makes it harder to give up. Find a good partner, work together, and see how much you can grow. You are not alone in this journey. Chapter 17. The Truth About Talent. When Genes Matter and When They Don't in English Learning. Imagine 2 students learning English. Let's call them Maria and Tom. Maria is good at remembering new words. She can hear a new word once and remember it easily. Tom, on the other hand, finds it hard to remember words. He needs to say them many times to remember them. Maria feels like she is naturally good at English. Tom feels like English is very hard for him. Are some people born with a talent for learning English? Maybe a little. Some people learn new words more quickly. Some people find it easier to understand grammar. These differences are often because of our genes, which are the parts of our body that we inherit from our parents. They make us different from other people. Our genes are like the blueprint for our bodies. For example, you might hear some people say, "She's a natural musician. He's a born athlete." In the same way, some people might say, "She's a natural language learner." But it is not that simple. Our genes give us some advantages, but they don't decide our future. Think about it like this. Maybe Maria has a gene that makes her good at remembering sounds, so learning new English words comes easily to her. This is her natural ability. But what if Maria never practices English? What if she never reads or listens to English? What if she doesn't want to speak English with other people? Then, it doesn't matter what her genes are. She will not become a fluent English speaker. On the other hand, Tom has a harder time remembering English words. But he loves to talk with his English-speaking friends. He enjoys listening to English songs, and he reads an English book every day. Because he practices a lot, Tom is getting better and better at English. Tom may not become an expert in English like a native speaker, but he will be able to communicate well and achieve his goals. He will become a good English speaker. Our natural abilities, or our genes, are like a gift, but they don't tell us if we can become an expert. The best way to see if a habit is right for you is to try it. Maybe your first attempt will fail. Maybe it will feel very difficult. But if you like it enough, it will be easier to keep going. If you have a natural talent for something, this is like an extra boost to help you reach your goals. But even without a natural talent, you can still improve. It is important to choose English habits that work with who you are. Don't try to force yourself to do something that you really don't like. Maybe you don't like memorizing long lists of words. Maybe it is better for you to learn words by using them in real conversations. Maybe you do not like reading long English stories. Maybe you prefer watching short English videos. Find the way to learn English that feels natural to you. Our genes do not decide our future. Our genes can help us or make things more difficult, but they do not make the decisions for us. Our habits are more important than our genes. You can become good at English. You just need to work hard and find the ways to learn that you enjoy. It is not about how good you are at the start. It is about what you do every day. If you practice your English habits, if you do the work, you will reach your goals. This is the truth about talent. Chapter 18. The truth about talent. When genes matter and when they don't. Many people know Michael Phelps. He is a very famous swimmer. He won many medals at the Olympic Games, more than any other swimmer, and more than any other athlete in the world. Not many people know Hicham El Guerrouj. He was also a very good athlete. He was a runner from Morocco. He won 2 gold medals at the Olympics, and he was the best runner in the world at 1,500 meters for many years. These two athletes are very different. Michael Phelps competed in water, and Hicham El Guerrouj ran on land. One is very tall, and one is shorter. Michael Phelps is about 6 feet 4 inches tall. Hicham El Guerrouj is only 5 feet 9 inches tall. But even though they are different, they are also the same in one way. They are both very good at what they do. How is this possible? Michael Phelps has short legs for his height and a long body. This body type is perfect for swimming. Hicham El Guerrouj has long legs and a short body. This body type is perfect for running. Imagine if these two athletes changed sports. Could Michael Phelps be a great runner? Probably not. He is too tall and his legs are too short. Could Hicham El Guerrouj be a great swimmer? Probably not. He is too short and his body is not made for swimming. This is because we are all born with different abilities. Some people are better at some things than others. This is because of our genes. Your genes are like a set of instructions for your body and your brain. They help to decide what you are good at. But genes are not the only thing that matters. The place where we live also matters. For example, if you are tall, it is easier to play basketball. If you live in a city with many swimming pools, it is easier to become a swimmer. If you have a natural talent for learning languages, but live in a place where people only speak one language, you may not realize this talent. The place where we live can change our abilities. Some people do very well in one place, and they don't do so well in another. It is like trying to grow an orange tree in the snow. It doesn't matter how talented the farmer is. The climate will make it difficult to succeed. The important thing to remember is that your genes can give you a good start, but they do not decide everything. You can still change and improve. You can choose the things that you want to work on, and you can create a good environment to support your goals. Like Michael Phelps and Hicham Guru, you can find a place where your strengths can shine. So, how do we choose the right way to improve? How do we find the best habits to create? The first step is to know yourself. You need to understand what you are good at and what you enjoy. For example, if you want to learn English, you should try different ways to learn. Some people like to study grammar, while others like to talk with native speakers. Some people learn best by listening to podcasts, while others enjoy reading books. The important thing is to find what you enjoy. And when you enjoy something, it is easier to make it a habit. It's like choosing a game to play. If you are better at soccer, then you should play soccer. If you are better at basketball, then you should play basketball. Choose the games where you have a better chance of winning. Choose the English learning habits that are easiest for you to enjoy. The important thing is to not compare yourself to others. Everyone has different talents and abilities. The key is to use your talents to your advantage. And, most importantly, to work hard. In short, genes do not decide your destiny. They decide your opportunities. Find a place where you have the best chance to succeed. And then, work hard. Chapter 19. The downside of creating good English habits. We know that good habits are important for learning English. They help us practice regularly, and they make studying easier. But what happens when our English habits become too easy? What if we stop thinking about how to make them better? This can happen if we just do the same thing again and again without thinking. Imagine you are playing a video game. In the beginning, it is difficult. You need to focus and try hard. But after playing the game many times, you know all the moves, and it becomes easy. You don't need to think about it so much. You start to play on autopilot. You're not really learning anymore. You're just repeating what you already know. The same thing can happen with your English habits. At first, you are very focused. You are trying to learn new words and grammar rules. You are trying to speak English more often. But as these actions become habits, it's easy to stop thinking about them, and you might start making small mistakes without noticing. It's like always driving the same route to work. You might become so used to it that you miss a turn or don't notice a traffic light. When you are comfortable, you might stop trying to improve. This doesn't mean habits are bad. It means that good habits can sometimes have a negative side. They can make us do things automatically, but they can also stop us from improving. The good news is, there is a way to handle this. We can use our habits to help us become better English learners, but we also need to be more thoughtful about our learning. We can't just repeat what we already know. We need to keep challenging ourselves. We have to do something different to continue to improve our English. It is like learning a new song on the guitar. At first, you have to learn each note. It takes time and effort. But after you know the song well, it's easy to play. You can play it without thinking. This is a great step. But it doesn't mean you are the best guitar player you can be. You need to start learning something new. You need to learn a more difficult song, a new way to play the notes, or try a new style. The importance of a habit review. How can you avoid getting stuck in your English habits? You need to stop and think about what you're doing. You have to check your habits from time to time. You need to ask yourself, am I still getting better? Are my habits still working for me? How can I improve? This is why it is important to review your habits. Think of it as checking the map on your road trip. You need to see where you are, make sure you're on the right road, and make changes if you are going the wrong way. It's like being a student and checking your answers after doing a test. It helps you find your mistakes and learn from them. You might feel comfortable with your reading habit because you can read simple English stories easily. But what about harder books? You might be happy with your listening habit because you can understand simple conversations, but can you understand a movie without subtitles? When you are happy with what you have achieved, that is also a good time to ask yourself if you could do something better or more difficult. Doing this is how we can avoid the downside of having good habits. We can use our habits as a base, but we can also make them better. Just because something is a habit doesn't mean you can stop thinking about it. When you review your habits, you have the chance to make them better and keep improving. It is similar to a sports team. The best teams do not just do the same things all the time. They look for ways to make small improvements. This way, they are always growing and getting better. They know that getting comfortable is a mistake. To stay motivated, you need to constantly think about how you can get better. Do not be afraid to try new things and find new challenges. When you do that, you are more likely to stay focused and interested in your English learning journey for years to come. By paying attention, reflecting, and reviewing your habits, you can continue your English learning journey and get closer to your goals. Exercises. Think about your current English learning habits. What are you doing every day? What do you do once a week? Write down 3 of your habits. Think about the last time you felt really comfortable with your English. What were you doing? Did you feel like you were still learning? Now, think of one way to make one of your English habits more challenging. What is something new you can try? Remember, consistent practice is good, but don't get so comfortable with your current habits that you stop trying to improve. The secret to lasting results in English learning. We have talked about many things in this book. We have looked at how small English habits can make a big difference. We've seen how you can change your mind about what kind of English speaker you are. We have learned how to make new English habits easy and enjoyable. Remember, learning English is not a race. It's a journey. It's not about becoming perfect overnight. It is about making small steps forward every day. It's about building good habits that will help you for a long time. If you have trouble with a habit, that's okay. The most important thing is that you don't give up. Try to find the next small step to take. Ask yourself, is my English habit easy enough? Is it enjoyable enough? Is it obvious enough? When you do this, you will find ways to make your learning better. The secret to good results is to keep making small changes. What you build when you don't stop is amazing. It is amazing what your English can become when you keep studying. It's amazing how your speaking will improve if you don't stop practicing. It's amazing what new ideas you can understand if you don't stop reading. In this book, we learned how to make good English habits. Make them obvious, so you always remember to do them. Make them attractive, so you want to do them. Make them easy, so you can do them even when you're busy. Make them satisfying, so you feel good when you do them. We also learned that it is important to make bad English habits invisible, so you will not see them. Make bad English habits unattractive, so you don't want to do them. Make bad English habits hard, so they are difficult to start. Make bad English habits unsatisfying, so they don't make you feel good. These are the tools you need to change your habits. Don't worry if things are difficult at the start. The important thing is to keep going. Keep making small changes every day. Keep building good English habits. You can learn anything if you take small, consistent steps. Tiny changes, big results. That is the secret to a long and successful English learning journey.